What is up, guys? James here from the Light of Riga YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you a spread that I use for all of my tarot decks. Whenever I get a new deck, I usually do this spread, and I call this the New Deck Interview Spread. I didn't come up with this spread, but I do want to share it so that I can help you guys get introduced with your new tarot decks. The reasoning behind this is, every tarot deck is different. Every person is different. And not every tarot deck is going to work with a person in a way that it would work with another person, right? It's going to be different for everyone. And it's important to get a feeling for the deck before you read for yourself, before you read for others, so that you know what the deck is trying to do, what its strengths are, what its weaknesses are, how you can work with it, and that sort of thing, so that you have a better understanding of this deck before you take it into battle. Okay, so I'm going to show you this spread that I use, and then I'm going to do a sample reading. The deck I'm going to be using today is a deck that I was gifted recently, and I haven't done a reading with this deck yet, so I'm very excited for it. It's just called Tarot Cards. It's from 1970, and it is well used, well loved, and it seems as though the person who used it before me was learning, so there's a lot of notes on it. It's in French. It's a pip deck. It's very, look at the curling. It's curled heavily. So this is a deck that's seen a lot of combat. I don't know why all the military analogies, but I wanted to understand the deck a little bit more. So I'll do a sample reading and show you how to do this spread, and we'll get into it. So if you would give me a moment to center myself and ask the tarot cards a question: what is the energy surrounding this deck? By the way, this is a 5-card reading. I don't know if I mentioned that. And I'll tell you exactly what each card represents. Alright, cut it. The first card goes at the top. And this card represents the deck's most important characteristic. What kind of typifies this deck? Is that the right word? What is this deck trying to do? What is its kind of thing? What's its MO? Okay. The second card goes down here. And this card represents what you can do to learn from the deck. So, we all have a responsibility as tarot readers. This is a 50-50 thing. The cards are helping us, but we're reading the cards. So what can you do to learn from this deck? What is this deck here to teach you? The third card goes over here. And this card represents the deck's strengths. What the deck does well. Where it shines. The fourth card goes over here. And this card represents the deck's weaknesses, where its faults are, where its shortcomings are, and it's important to know how this deck can't help you. And the last card is the fifth card, and it goes right in the middle, and it represents where this relationship will go, where working with this deck will take you, and how it could improve your life and the lives of the people you read with it. Okay, so we've dealt the cards out, and now we can take a look at what this particular deck is here to help me with. So the first card we're going to look at is this one. Number 1, the deck's most important characteristic. And we got, I don't speak French at all, but we've got the Wheel of Fortune. Le Roue de Fortune. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Beats me. La Roue. We've got the Wheel of Fortune. Huh. I don't know. This card, its most important characteristic is that this deck stands the test of time. And I think that is exemplified by the fact that it's popped up 40 years later. No, 50 years later. This deck was created in 1970. It's been sitting in someone's drawer for I don't know how many decades. And it just popped up again and is ready to work. It's on the internet. Who would have thought that a deck made in 1970, which smells like old paper, which is curled, which has crib notes, will pop up on the internet in 2018 for many people to see. So this deck has longevity. It's not going anywhere. You know, there's ups and downs, and maybe sometimes, maybe for a few decades, it's going to be in the bottom of a drawer somewhere. You know, that's the bottom of the wheel. But when it gets to the top of the wheel, it's going to be on the internet for people to see and love and enjoy. So this deck has staying power. It's got longevity. It stands the test of time. You know, I almost feel like, you know, some decks maybe, I don't know, aren't relevant, right? Some decks aren't going to stand the test of time. In 30 years, we're going to be talking about maybe the Llewellyn Tarot, but maybe not so much, you know, the Wildwood. Just an example. So I think this deck is standing the test of time. It's not going anywhere. It's going to pop up over and over again. Okay? So we're going to go to the second card now. What you can do to learn from this deck. And we've got Le Monde, which is the World card. 2 major arcanas already. I think what I can learn from this deck is that all things come to an end eventually. And that we should understand that when things come to an end, there's no reason for sadness or regret. When things come to an end, it's because they've naturally reached their conclusion. It's the end of the story. And while, yes, you might be sad that that story's over and, you know, you missed that story, you had some great times in that story, it's time for a new story. And I think that's something to learn from this deck, is that, you know, the wheel of time, the wheel of fortune, keeps going and it keeps spinning round and round. But, you know, phases come and go. And even though a phase has gone, that means that another phase is coming. So often we think that when change comes, when the end of a phase comes or end of a cycle comes, that's it, no more. But that's not true. Something better is coming. So I think that's what this card is asking me to learn, is that something is always going to be coming that is better. Always, without a failure. Okay, so let's take a look at card 3, which represents the deck's strengths. This seems to be the 6 of Wands. I think this deck is very sure of itself. This deck knows exactly what it is, what it's trying to do, and is going to give you some answers that you can follow. The 6 of Wands is about stepping into your power, realizing your power, and realizing that, you know, people are following me. You know, I'm a leader. I lead by example, and people understand that and see that and notice that. So I think that's a little bit of what this deck is. It's a leader. It'll show you the way forward in a very no nonsense sort of way. It's like a leader would. You know, a leader doesn't say, "Hey, maybe you should go over there." Let's go back to the military analogy, right? A general doesn't say, "Hey, maybe you should go over to that place over there and attack." No, he gives orders, and those orders are very planned out, and they serve a specific purpose, and they're there to make sure things happen, right? If you give someone the opportunity to go attack over there, they might not, and you might lose a battle because of their decision. But when you strategize and you have a plan and people stick to the plan, then things happen. And I think that's what this deck is about. It's about giving you a solid plan and helping you to move forward through strategy. Almost. This is a cool deck so far. I'm liking it. We'll go over to card 4, which represents the deck's weaknesses. And we have the 3 of Swords. No one likes the 3 of Swords. These swords look weird. Are they bent? I see this one sword in the middle. I haven't used this deck yet. This is the first time for me. And I encourage you guys to do this spread for the first time. The first reading you do with the deck should be this spread, or a spread like it. So the Three of Swords is about betrayal. It's about disappointment. It's about scorn. Is that a good word? So I think what this deck's weakness is that it's a little bit too... It might be too harsh. It might be too in your face. It might be telling you things that maybe you're not even ready to hear. And this can lead to disappointment. This can lead to heartbreak. Being confronted with the truth too quickly when you're not really ready for it, it's overwhelming, and it brings up some negative feelings, and maybe it's necessary, but it's still not comfortable. And I think that's kind of what this deck is saying, that its weakness is it doesn't do things comfortably. It's going to give you the brutal, the raw, and give you the information that you need, but maybe you're not ready to hear. Okay, so this deck seems to be a little bit confrontational, a little bit in your face, and it's not going to hold back its punches. So if someone's looking for a softer reading, right? If someone's looking for a reading that's going to tell them everything's okay and you don't have any problems, there's no shadow, don't worry, you're great, this may not be the deck to read for that person, right? Because maybe if they're already coming to you with that sort of energy, they're coming to a tarot reading hoping that everything is going to be hunky-dory and they're not going to have to confront their shadow, then already they don't understand the tarot. And I think this deck is probably not one you would use for that person, because it's going to give raw, truthful answers that they're not ready to hear. So that's the deck's weaknesses. And the last card we're going to look at is card number 5, and this represents where this relationship will go. Look at all 3 major arcana right down the center. Now we've got Les Tuiles. Again, I don't even speak a word of French. I just like to pretend I do. Sur la table. Les Tuiles. The toilets. No, this is the star card. I think in using this deck, it's going to force both myself and the querents, the people I read for, to be more open with themselves, to confront themselves. Like I said, this seems to be a harsh deck. This seems to be a deck that doesn't pull punches. It's going to tell you like it is, and no matter what you're ready to hear, almost. And I think that's, like I said, a lot of people aren't ready for that, and it can be very bring up negative emotions or feelings or thoughts, but it's necessary, right? Are you ever ready to hear the brutal, honest truth? Probably not. Our egos are so in charge. Our egos are so at the forefront of who we are and what we do. It's so easy to bruise it, okay? But once you tell your ego that, it's not in charge, you have a lot of problems, you're not perfect, the ego recoils in horror, okay? But as a result of that, it forces realizations. It forces you to realize things that you were never going to realize on your own. So the truth can set you free. That's why they say that. And I think that's what this deck is going to do. It's going to set me and my querents free based on the truth that it's going to give. Right? It's going to give the brutal truth, the brutal honesty, and like I said, not everyone's ready for that. Okay, so now that we've seen all these cards, now we get a better sense of this deck. I had no idea. This deck looks so unassuming. It's got some pretty little pictures. It's a pip deck. I had no idea. This deck was just raw, okay? And that's what the benefit of doing this spread, of doing this reading. You get to... It's like a crash course in your tarot deck. Yeah, you can get the same effect by doing 100 readings, and I would come to that conclusion that I just came to. Or I could do this spread, and I realize I get an advanced warning. I get some heads up about what this deck is and what it's trying to do. And it's great. It speeds up your ability to read. It speeds up your ability to... learn a new deck, and it really just gives you a better sense of what this deck is. And when you have a really good sense as a tarot reader, when you have a really good sense of what this deck is and what it's trying to do, you can really tailor and customize which deck you use for which querent. Right? You get a sense of their energy when they come to you, and if you understand your deck and you know what its strengths are, what its weaknesses are, if it's going to be harsh, if it's going to be mellow, you can tailor the reading in a more professional way. That's why I almost never ask my querents what deck they want me to use. I know some tarot readers do that, and that's fine, but the way I do it is I have a sense of my decks, and I get a feeling of what deck is going to be best for that person. Every deck is different. Every deck will bring up different images and different feelings and different emotions, so you really have to understand your deck. And that's what this new deck interview spread is for. So I hope you guys will give this a shot. You know, even if you don't have a new deck, you can do this with your old deck and maybe understand it even better. So it's not just for, you know, when after cracking open a new box of tarot cards. You can do this at any point with any deck, and it's really beneficial for you in so many different ways. So I encourage all of you young tarot readers out there to give this a shot if you don't do a deck interview spread already, and you'll notice your tarot abilities increase, because it's a symbiotic relationship, tarot, right? It's like a man and a surfboard, right? Well, is that the best analogy? Right? You're not going to surf without a surfboard. You need to understand that board and how it undulates under the ocean's current. Well, let's go back to, we got all sorts of military metaphors. It's a soldier and his gun, right? A soldier has intimate knowledge of that weapon because his life depends on it, okay? He has to know how to break down that weapon piece by piece, oil it, clean it, put it back together again, how it fires, how it misfires, how to fix a jam. He has to know everything about that gun, like it was his right arm, because his life depends on it. A tarot reader needs to know their deck intimately in order to do a tarot reading, not because their life depends on it, because the reading depends on it. The accuracy of the reading depends on it. So I know I've rambled on for like 10 minutes about the importance of doing interviews, deck interviews, but I think I made my point now, so I'm going to stop. Okay, so I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope this spread helps you in your tarot practice if you have one. And I don't know, just say love and light to you all. Thank you for watching. Be sure to do all the YouTube stuff, lightofriga.com for booking a personal reading with me. Please like, share, and comment, and subscribe, and really any comments you got to say about this reading, I love to hear those, so put those in the comment section below. That's going to do it for me. Leave a like if you enjoy this. Happy taroting. Peace. Wait, that's love. Peace and love.